Yeah, so the topic is trust and transparency in capital. And when we're talking about capital, we're not just talking about financial capital, it's capital in value. We have amazing speakers earlier, as you have heard. And I have some questions to get started. And I think the big question I want to ask, and anyone can, or maybe one of us, or each one of us can answer, is like, what does trust mean to you in your work, and what role does transparency play in building or breaking trust?
It's a big question.
Anyone can
okay, I'll just start. Well, I think trust is the beginning of everything. Because if you have ongoing interactions, I mean, going back to game theory, that's not just one interaction. You build with every interaction, you build trust. If you don't have trust, you cannot continue actually this relationship. So, and for that you have to be transparent. You shouldn't have hidden gains. And I think you should be authentic also with what you do, transparent in what you do, so you can expect the same thing from the other person, because otherwise, from a human point of view, you cannot have a relationship. And from a business point of view, you also cannot have a lasting relationship.
Okay. Okay. So then, from my viewpoint, trust itself is a cooperation. So as mentioned before, we cannot observe that our mental situation, our preferences, and what we consider in mind. But once we can cooperate with each other, there is a kind of a trust for action. So then the point is, how we can sustain the trust for action. So then, and also everyone emphasized that the transparency is a key point to sustain that cooperative action. So that kind of trust building is very important in our society.
I have no what to add you the two, and but the trust is a medium to connect to each other. So even in business, we use the trust naturally, because someone we cannot trust cannot react with. So our money is we believe the value of money as trust. I think that the money is some crystallized trust, I think, and people use in society. But we have another, not measured by trust, money. So we use the social value as trust. So we need some measuring about with transparency.
Yeah, it's really great that you also mentioned that transparency is a medium to build trust. And I want to ask a follow-up question, and this is open for you guys to answer too. Is there such thing as too much transparency?
Recently, AI tried to solve that, satisfying that difficulty. Right? So of course, there are many data and many different types of transparency. And also that importance is also depending on the person. Right? So then once we ask, or we use some app, for example, so we can elicit some nice useful information or transparency information depending on the person. So then I think recent development of that IP help us to solve such kind of difficulty.
Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point there. Giving too much transparency, oversharing. Well, I think the point is you need to establish a certain level of transparency to build trust. There's a threshold of at least what you need to have there to build a trusted relationship. The more you increase the transparency, I don't know if this proportionally then scales the trustworthiness of the relationship, but there needs to be a common understanding that needs to be shared in sociology. This also shared value set that you need to establish this relationship.
Yeah, we have the transparency now, but it's not trustworthy, because it's open to the possibility to fake, and we cannot rely on that. So yeah, my idea is based on the blockchain that cannot be changed, but we can use some technologies to build trust on the transparency.
Yeah, so one additional comment. So then, I'm very interested in that what kind of transparency can be achieved, because even when we make some transparency situation, we also need to consider that such kind of transparency is credible or trustworthy, right? So then, at the beginning, we also need to consider what kind of that trustworthy information or situation can be built, right? So then, particularly, I'm interested in your company. So you collect some data about sustainable information, right? So then, how you can you can check that such kind of information is trustworthy?
Thanks for asking, because I'm the moderator. I'm not gonna ask, I'm very happy that you asked. Yeah, so for us, we also learned that we have to define transparency as I think it's accessible. It's also relevant, and it's ongoing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we're currently defining it. Because if businesses communicate too much of the information, think like a 100-page sustainability report, like who's going to read it? It's not relevant, right? And we've seen that different businesses have to communicate to different stakeholders, and they all want different informations and in different frameworks. So the right information is really important for transparency. Because if you provide too little, it's not transparent. I think if you provide too much, it's also not transparent. If it's not accessible, but you're like, oh, but we have it, it's also not transparent. If you're providing, I think what you mentioned is like about credible information. I think that relates to relevancy, right? So relevancy, I think maybe some stakeholders expect like an audit report and very in-depth, credible kind of information, but maybe some do not. And I think that's also transparent as well. And how we're doing it now is we're just there's lots of things to fill, lots of gaps to fill for different stakeholders, but we're trying to build a system where businesses can be as transparent as possible and to communicate with stakeholders with just the information at first. And then, of course, we can build on more high quality information, because I know there's a lot of technology out there that is focused on really high technology, like blockchain and stuff like that. But some stakeholders don't care. They just want some basic information. Give us, like you mentioned earlier, like what's the base information, right? So yeah, thanks for asking.
Sorry.
Yeah. So as transparency increases, I think you mentioned a little bit about this too with technology. For example, what's one thing that you think will disappear, or what will replace it as transparency increases in our society? It's very hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hopeful that I hope reporting disappears, right? If the data can be just more connected seamlessly.
I think, yeah, I mean, if we keep doing reporting for the sake of reporting, that is not helpful. So I think the point is we need actionable knowledge.
Yeah.
Now, information is not knowledge. So please, that's a very crucial thing. Information doesn't equal knowledge, but we need to derive the knowledge from it that helps us to take actions. So that's, I think, the big next step. And many things are happening right now. I mean, CSRD, they're reducing the scope of that. We see what's happening in the US. The quick question is, so what is the value of the reporting? I mean, beyond the regulators, but for the company. It's a cost factor right now for the company. It doesn't provide any actionable knowledge that helps the company to survive in the future. Now, I think if we sorted that part out, how it really helps, how that information is helpful, then that's I think, a complete new ballgame.
So the point is, what kind of the incentive that company has, right? So then, sorry, I always ask at the IT, but if IT makes some nice technology to collect that information or knowledge, and by choosing based on their action or past behavior, so then that is the actual incentive to behave well, right? So that kind of that incentive scheme is also important to consider that kind of the valuable knowledge or something.
You don't.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So I think related to what you mentioned too, I'd like to ask Daisuke. So it's about taking action, and could public records of, you mentioned for individual, but how about for corporate acts of giving? Could like community support or climate action also play like a similar role in like the gift economy model at the corporate level, not individual level?
Yeah, both is possible, because the corporate can create an account in the gift economy 2.0 and can accumulate the trust from the stakeholders or customers or the B2B connections. So the and individuals also can do that.
And related to your talk too, I think it is very interesting that we're kind of shifting from the transaction-based trust to recognition-based. And what do you think could help accelerate this process or slow it down?
Yeah, I hope that it accelerates the pace of the trust-based interaction. So yeah, Yeah, the data is on the blockchain, and we the people can react to each other. So based on there's no measurement, but the recorded on the relation on the public as a public data. So we can trust the data itself as an information. I think the people use by that to make knowledge for them. So we interpret the data and we use to connect to each other with the basis trusted and verified information. Is it clear?
Okay, audience questions.
Go ahead.
I have a question for. Oh, thank you. I have one question to Professor Araya. So, I understand that the gift economy application is based on trust, but do you have any countermeasures? Let's say if people misuse the gift economy, because in one of your example you showed some person asking for a free bag for her kid, but what if that person actually asks so many people and then she collects all the bags and then sell it?
Yeah, thank you. But that we recorded on blockchain also, I think. So it's the fraud use is very high risk to do so. So this economy, the gift economy 2.0, is based on the trust and the acts that betrays the trust is very, very risky, and people not likely to choose that option.
I think that gift economy 2.0 is that app not collects that data. No. How do you say that? The purpose of that the gift economy 2.0 is not only that collects that some symbol, but also they collect that they record that behavior itself. I think that so then even when once their action is visible by using a symbol, basically we don't know that what kind of that sign it is. Right? For example, we see that some 5-star something in that recommendation system, but I don't know that meaning of that 5-star. But once we see that gift economy 2.0, once we pick up that star, we can see that some source of that data. So what kind of behavior gives that such kind of star, for example. So then, according to your question, so if that some person make the bad behavior, that action itself is also recorded. So then there is one of the risks. Is that correct?
Yeah. For example, the bug requests, she will gather some many bugs and to sell or gift to others, and that will gain the heart, and that will be recorded on the blockchain.
But what if she decided to sell the bag with other platform, let's say like Mercari or Facebook group?
So then how can we know that
Yes,
itself,
yes.
right?
Yeah, but it's possible, but she have to express her gratitude to many givers of bugs, and she wanted one, but she expressed gratitude for 10 people. It will that's clear to something.
But your point is, I think, very important, because Mark mentioned before, externality is also one important factor to consider that or to check that the trust or trustworthy aspect, right? So then your situation is kind of the externality behavior. So then we need to consider that what kind of treat that problem of that externality. I see. Well, it's not next, sorry.
Thank you.
Phil, I'd like to use your mic because this question is for all three.
Thank
you. Right. Thank you, everybody, for a very interesting and informative session. I'm Evan with Koeder AI. I have a question, but first I'd like to set the stage a little bit for this question. And this question will be for all three, let's say, business leaders. Speakers. And then please feel free to join in as well. But if we look at the title of this session, Trust and Transparency in Capital, I think what we're talking about when it comes to the gift economy or sustainability is its let's say economic impact in a capitalist model, to sort of bridge off of the capital in the title there, or let's say the current free market economy, which is how most of our society has organized itself hierarchically right now. So first, I have a question. Has anybody read a book called The Dawn of Everything? The Dawn of Everything. You're familiar with the title? The subtitle is A New History of Humanity. I think it's David Graeber and David Wengrow. In this book, they talk about the history of society and how we have structured our, let's say, hierarchical, societal hierarchies over time. The book focuses a lot on a criticism by the indigenous natives of North America when Europeans first came to that continent of how, let's say, selfish the European system was. Because their society was structured around more caregiving, having the tribe or the larger society take care of each other. And the book also talks about how that is one of the options that we've utilized throughout human history, is a more caregiving society or a more, let's say, gift-giving society. It also talks a little bit about hierarchies or structures or societies that are oriented entirely around gift-giving hierarchies, like the potluck culture of Western Canada, where I'm from. Actually, my home is Vancouver Island, which was the territory of the Haida Gwaii, who engaged in this historical potluck culture. Right. So sorry, that was all preamble to my question. The question is, the usual criticism of the gift-giving culture is that it's not scalable beyond in-person human interactions. And so if we look at a gift-based society as perhaps a structure or a way that we can orient ourselves as a society moving forward, how can we solve that scalability issue? Now, you've touched on some of those, I think, throughout your talk, but maybe you could expand on it just a little bit more. Perhaps how does this new technology allow us to scale a gift-giving culture to the point where it's a viable option to our current, let's say, world hierarchical structures?
Thank you, Eric. That's the point of gift economy 2.0 that I want to express the point. Because as you know, the traditional gift economy is very localized and based on the personal relationships. But the 2.0, we can use that data beyond the border of the community, because we can shift to another community using their data that's accumulated in a community that was belonged to, that he belonged to. So we can connect each societies, each gift economy. Every gift economy, it was connected by person, by act. We can globalize the gift economy 2.2, I think.
Okay, so yeah, that's a very good question. But my answer is related to that example I showed in my presentation. So as mentioned before, now I showed that some labor community union, right? So that community is not so large, but each timing, the person, the member is different, right? So then that kind of some connection is generated over period. So then to scale that such kind of community, even when that purpose is different, but some connection can share that common purpose. So then we try to make such kind of that chain of that common purpose. So then we can scalarize that community. That is one.
Yeah, I mean, also I want to throw in against the grain, talking about the books there. I think we have this sharing economy, gift economy. It works in small tribes. We know that because you have what's something called intangible accountability. because you know uncle gave me this, aunt gave me this, so you can account for it intangibly in your mind because it's a small community. But then when we talk about nations, countries, I think what we need accountability. So we need to make the value accountable. We need to be able to measure it, because only then, when we have the accountability and the accounting, even it's a boring thing, it's a very important thing, to put it in there, then it allows us also to transcend beyond just the local tribe with the intangible accountability.
Yeah, and I think every interaction there's some kind of value exchange. So when we're talking about trust and transparency and capital, we're really talking about like value, right? And right now, a lot of the focus is these global interactions and exchanges based on monetary value, and that's easily measured. But non-financial value is increasingly important, and I think it will be measured and it will be included in exchanges and interactions, whether it's at the local level, in small communities, or global level. There's some exchange of also non-financial value there. Yes.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Christine Baggerino from Social AI. I wanted to ask a follow-up question to that, because a lot of the local communities that are involved in the gift giving and sharing interactions, there are a lot of practices right now, such as mutual aid and fundraising donations to help communities in need. But a lot of these communities are those that are typically spurned by a traditional capitalist society. They lean more towards socialist values, as well as a lot of distrust of the system. So since we're inherently talking about having a system that people trust, so they engage with it, how do you serve those communities that inherently distrust the system? Because, for example, they may be worried about rising fascism and authoritarianism, so they don't want a digital footprint of their interactions that can be traced back to them and potentially used against them in, for example, a police state that said, oh, you donated to this person, you are a terrorist, and now we're going to throw you in a mystery jail somewhere. Yeah, how do you keep this system trustworthy for those individuals who have those concerns that would benefit from it?
So I often talk about on these topics. Even in family, priest takes records his gratitude for your wife or the husband. That makes the base of trust as individual and open to others beyond the border of families. So that can create that can create the possibility to I don't know how to leave the community, but it's potential. But we can leave. That helps the subordination on the community, or people don't want to belong into the community sometimes. So people can't leave with that credit. So the fourth community, to open the global gift economy market. So please record each act of gratitude on blockchain. So yeah, that is my answer.
One difficulty is, I think, how to share that common purpose. Right? So if we have that common purpose, we naturally have some incentive to cooperate with each other. But unfortunately, once we see that globalization, even when that say the purpose is beneficial for the local area, it doesn't mean that it's beneficial for the global area. Right? So then there is some trade-off or some conflict among the people. So then, yes. So then, I think that again, as mentioned, Araya-san, he used some blockchain technology. So then we can share that some purpose or yes. So then based on that some common purpose, local community is rising in the many different point. But so then gradually connect to the such local society. So then we may share that some purpose and try to cooperate with each other.
I mean, it's a very big topic you put out there, to be honest. And this goes back to really what system are we living in? Do we want to live in? What systems are we facing? Is capitalism the right way of solving things the way it is today? It's difficult to answer.
Yeah.
We know from research that actually altruism is positive. it has a net positive when you're altruistic in your behavior. We know that from studies. We talked about externalities. If we put it that way, that we go extreme, in very extreme directions, there is externalities that we're not taking into account right now, but will come back to hurt us. So I can tell you, I have a small daughter, and when she wants things to disappear, she closes her eyes, and then she thinks everything's gone. Sometimes we do that too, but unfortunately, when we open our eyes, all the problems are back again. So, and I think it's difficult to answer, but we do know if we have accountability for everything, it at least gives us a transparency to understand where are the problems, what needs to be fixed. And of course, we have to work together on that. If we have people say, no, I don't want that, that's not where I want to be, okay, then we need to think about that. But first of all, we need to know, because knowledge is the power to understand better and then make really educated decisions. That's a very, very key thing that we need to have to move forward.
Okay, I'll just give a quick answer too, since we're running out of time. I think right now, when we talk about transparency and it's about like relevancy, and right now I think individual data is too transparent and corporate data is too opaque. And I think in the future it must be flipped. More transparency for corporations and more data privacy for individuals. So I think we have to just work towards systems that protect more individual data and make corporate data more transparent. Because I think as corporations, we're just a group of individuals, and being transparent allows you to just work more efficiently with other corporations or internally as well. Okay, thanks for the question, and I think we're out of time. So are we out of time and we need to close it? Or can we ask one final question, or no? Okay, just closing question, only one sentence or one or two sentences. What's the one thing every organization should do differently tomorrow to build more trust? Or individuals, or organizations, or individuals. What's one thing they can do?
One word, use heartland applications.
Very deep. Okay. So then make a different incentive except that money.
I think, yeah, make values transparent. I think that's important.
Great. All right. I think just support initiatives, or just for organizations just to be transparent in a way that actually adds business value to, and there's a lot of ways to do that. Okay, thank you to all the panelists, and thank you guys for paying attention.
Thank you very much.